Guy in the black hat.
Friends gathered around for the official ceremony outside the Roosevelt Hotel and then moved inside for a round of congratulations.
Monty and I worked together on Giant. And
the following presentation is rated TV PG.
See that some harm comes to him.
Who are you? I'm British Secret Service.
The following presentation is rated TV PG.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
You're watching the Westerns Channel, where you can saddle up for the Gunsmoke double feature every night. From the imagination of Sam Peckinpah comes this rarely seen chronicle of a cowboy.
Come on, dog. We got a long way to go yet. We got us a man to kill when we get there.
Brian Keith is not your typical Western hero, but then Sam Peckinpah was not your typical Western writer or director. See what we mean as The Westerner comes your way Saturdays at 5:30 and Sundays at 11:30 on the Westerns Channel.
Daddy! Bond. James Bond.
Stars is 13 great movie channels, giving you over 750 movies every month. Here's what you can see tonight. Make sure you have all the Stars channels today.
The Westerns Channel brings you a true West moment. Now, here's Bob Bose Bell.
When we think of the characters who got rich from exploiting the Wild West, we usually think of Buffalo Bill Cody and maybe Ned Buntline. But did you know that there was an Apache who did pretty well for himself? That would be Geronimo. Yes, the wily war leader of the Chiricahua Apaches made a decent haul cashing in on his fame. As a prisoner of war at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Geronimo was in demand at fairs and expositions. He was even invited and rode in Teddy Roosevelt's inaugural parade. On the many train trips to Chicago, Washington, Omaha, and elsewhere, Geronimo had a routine. He would get off the train at almost every stop and announce who he was. People would gather around him and buy autographed photos for a quarter, and when he ran out of those, he would sell his hat, then he'd sell the buttons on his shirt and his coat, and then when the train left the station, Geronimo would pull out his suitcase, procure a needle and thread, and sew on more buttons for the next stop. When he died in 1909, Geronimo had amassed $10,000 in the bank. Imagine what Geronimo could have done on Wall Street. I'm Bob Bose Bell, and this has been a true West moment.
Tombstone is more than an entertaining legend from the Old West. It's a history lesson as well.
From what I can tell, it's really authentic. Kevin Jarre, who wrote it, was a real stickler for that, and he would ask us to do things where, we're so used to, like John Ford said, printing the legend instead of reality, that he would ask us to do things where we're like, well, that's not like a Western. That's not the Westerns I've seen. And he said, no, this is how it actually happened. People did have Paris fashions on the streets of Tombstone. They weren't all dusty. Their hats actually had nice form to them. They weren't all broken up and dirty, and they cared about how they looked. I mean, that I'd never heard before from anyone.
The only real law around here is the cowboys.
Cowboys? I'd have run in with a couple of them up in Fresco.
Nobody does nothing without them. I mean, they're it. There's three of them right over there. You can always spot a cowboy. They always wear those red sashes.
You didn't have belts in the 1870s and the 1880s, so they used a sash. Charlie Russell used to use a sash. William S. Hart was the only guy who wore a sash in movies. And it wasn't until we did Tombstone that People had sashes.
So look for authentic fashions and firearms as Tombstone comes your way. Commercial free on the Westerns Channel. The Westerns Channel presents an original documentary about Hopalong Cassidy and the man who brought him to life, William Boyd.
He was absolutely charismatic. He was just Hoppy.
Join Dennis Weaver to learn about the remarkable impact Hoppy had on a generation. With first-hand accounts from Bill Boyd's wife, Grace, and film historian Leonard Maltin. You'll hear about William Boyd's first days in film to his final days of acting. You'll see what life was like when Hoppy Mania was in full swing.
It was just incredible. Nothing like it had happened before, nothing's like it happened since.
And you'll learn how the character of Hopalong Cassidy forever transformed William Boyd's life. The Westerns Channel's proud to present the original documentary, Hopalong Cassidy, Public Hero #1.
I hope everybody gets a chance to see it.
Wednesday at 8, only on the Westerns Channel. Have you ridden into Dodge City lately? You can visit your old friends with a double dose of Gunsmoke every night at 6.
Well, why don't you inform me?
Well, I'm trying to.
Marshal Matt Dillon.
Kind of like to know a little bit more about what happened out here.
Chester.
I guess I'm just about the happiest man in the world.
Yeah, well, you need a stiff drink.
Miss Kitty.
I got a feeling you'd use that.
I guarantee you I would.
Festus.
Ain't no 8-year-old youngin' gonna tell me how to play checkers. I know that.
And Doc Adams.
I'll tell you why the Haggans live so long.
Why?
Well, it's because they're too dumb to know when they're dead, that's why.
So put down what you're doing.
Drop it!
Catch back-to-back episodes of Gunsmoke every night at 6, here on the Westerns Channel.
You know, it's pretty hard to believe, looking at all the buildings here today, that Hollywood was once the epicenter of filming for Western movies.
So, it's appropriate the Westerns takes you on the trail to Hollywood for a tribute to the last of the B-Western singing cowboys, Monty Hale.
When I heard Monty was going to get a star, my first reaction was about time. And then they called me and said, would you say a couple of words? And then I got almost giddy because this man has been so important in my life. I was born a cowboy. I will die a cowboy. And Gene and Roy and Monty and Hoppy and Clayton Moore, they were the most important people in my life next to my parents as I was growing up.
All I can say to you is thank you. Thank all the cowboys for being our Saturday afternoon babysitter, for teaching us the values and standards that we all grew up to learn, the difference between good and evil, the guy in the white hat, the guy in the black hat.
Friends gathered around for the official ceremony outside the Roosevelt Hotel and then moved inside for a round of congratulations.
Monty and I worked together on Giant. And as a matter of fact, Sheb Woolley and we alternated. Sheb Woolley pretended to be my illegitimate father in the movie. This was a little side story that nobody knew except us. And occasionally Monty was my father too, you know. But he was, that's how I got to know Monty, and he's such a great guy. And I'm so proud that he got this award today.
Monty Hale's one of the nicest guys I ever met in my life. He's just an absolutely superb guy. And I've known him for many years. I came